Guys, today's video is on the area of triangles. Let's first write the area of a normal triangle that we can find. The area is 1/2 base times height. But what we're going to do is not do base times height. We're going to make a different way because all the triangles we're going to work with aren't going to give us the height. We're only going to be given certain angles. So instead of finding the height, we're going to have to substitute something in for h. Let's look at this triangle right here. It's split up into a right triangle. Looking at sine of the C angle, the sine of C opposite over hypotenuse turns out to be opposite h divided by the hypotenuse, which is a, opposite hypotenuse. Don't get confused with the lettering h and a, but in this triangle here, opposite is h, hypotenuse is a. Therefore, solving for h, I'm going to do that on the side. Sine C equals h over a. Solving, getting h by itself, what we have to do is multiply both sides by a. So we have a sine C equals, cross that out, h. I can write that here. A times sine C is h. Now, instead of writing h here, I'm going to substitute a sine C when writing in my new formula. So the area is now equal to 1/2 times b, side b, times a sine c instead of that h. That's our new area formula. Something really important that you have to write down is that when we find the area, you can only do it if you're given a side, an angle in between another side. So like for number 1, we have a side and a side. You can only do it if you have the angle in between the two sides. Solving this area, problem in number 1, we have 1/2 times b times a times sine c. Always put the angle in between the two sides, label that as your c. I'm going to do that now. That's my c. That means this is side c, and then a and b's don't really matter. So this is side a and that is side b. Substituting into the formula, we get area to be 1/2 b, side a is 15, times the sine of our angle in between the two sides, which is 110. Doing that, simplifying, make sure in degree mode, we get the area to be 84.6. And I'm going to write centimeters squared. Talking about centimeters. Okay, so let me know what questions you have on that. That problem was pretty easy because it was already given a side, an angle, and a side. On to the back page are more difficult problems because we have to use the law of sine or the law of cosine first before we find the area. We have to do that because these triangles are not given as side, angle, side format. For example, here we have side, different color. We have side and a side, but the angle that we're looking for in between the two sides is not there. Instead, we have this random angle up there. So let's try to find this angle here before we find the area. Use law of sine for these to find the missing angle. Whenever we're given all the sides, that's when you use law of cosine. So in problems like 9 and 10, you do law of cosine to find the missing angle, but for 6, 7, and 8, we're going to use law of sine. Remember, law of sine looks like sine A divided by A equals sine B divided by B equals sine C, and you would cross multiply and solve, but you only need to use, again, 2 of these ratios. Let's try to find this right here. In order to find this missing theta, we're going to use the 93 and its corresponding side. So let's just call that sine 93 with its corresponding sine of 12 is going to equal blank over blank. And we know we have to use this side as the 7, but the corresponding angle with the 7 is over here. So we have to hold off on finding this blue theta. We have to hold off on finding it until after we find our missing angle on the top right here. Let's just call that sine B. So we're going to find this missing B right here first, and then use subtraction at the end, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's cross multiply. I'm going to skip ahead and tell you sine B is going to be sine 93 times 7, then divided by 12, 0.583, and then doing the inverse of 0.583. We get this B angle to be 35.6. Therefore, now to find this missing theta in the beginning, we have to do 180 minus the 35.6 minus this 93, and we will get that missing angle that we need to find the area. That comes out to be 51.4. So now we have a side, and the angle 51.4 in between. Let's erase this on our triangle, and let's write our area formula. So that's what I asked in the beginning, 1/2 A times B times sine of the angle C. So your angle C is always in between your two sides. And then we can do A and B here. That's A, that's B. And let's substitute. Area is 1/2. Side A is 12. Side B is 7. And then the angle between the two sides is 51.4. Doing that in your calculator, I believe we get 32.8, talking about feet squared. So another recap for this problem, in case you're a little lost, it's not a side angle side, so we had to use law of sine to find our missing angle, and then we used 180 minus these two to find the real angle that we needed in between the two sides. Then once we have our side angle side triangle, we can use our area formula here to plug in our two sides and our angle in between to find the area. The other problem that you would see is like number 9 or 10, where you're going to have to use law of cosine instead of law of sine because you're given all sides, and you'll have to find your missing angle there. We'll maybe do that one in class, but have a great night, guys.